We're joined today by Justyn Wood, co-founder and CEO of Noble Helium. Justyn, thanks for your time.
David, thanks for having me.
You've been listed about 12 months off the back of helium assets in Tanzania. Firstly, the helium market, not a well understood market for many investors. Can you talk to the thematic of helium?
Yeah, thanks David. It's like most people, when I first learned about helium in Tanzania, I was thinking party balloons. I guess when I started looking into it, when we were putting this together 7 years ago, we went, hang on, this is a critical raw material that is essential for making MRI machines function, for launching rockets, for manufacturing semiconductors, all of our phones, the chips in our phones and TVs and computers and cars that can't be made without helium anymore. Fibre optic cables can't be made, and I went, hang on, that actually is the entire global telecommunication system. That's a long way different from party balloons. And we also realised that there was some changes coming up in the helium supply chain globally that would potentially jeopardise the surety of supply for such a critical raw material. That's where we got started.
And why Tanzania?
So Tanzania has a very unique geology, and I won't go into the details, but it is, in the words of, we're working with some of the world's leading helium geoscientists at Oxford and Durham University, and the view between us is this is probably the best untested helium system on the planet. And I guess we had, or myself, my background is in oil and gas exploration. The helium is associated with the rift basins of Tanzania, and I was with a company called Hardman Resources and played a key role in the first oil discoveries in the East African Rift back in 2006. So I could see, and 4 billion barrels of oil discovered since we opened it up, and I could see that there was a requirement for all of the knowledge, or an opportunity here with all the knowledge and learnings of billions of dollars of investment in the last 15 years to go and apply that to a new resource that is bubbling out of the ground in Tanzania at up to sort of 10, 12, 18% helium. So there's this critical raw material effectively just coming out of the ground, and I kind of knew where to go to see where it could be or would be underground and trapped. So that's how we ended up there.
You've locked up 4 basins, or a good land holding in 4 basins in Tanzania, but you're focused on one project at the moment. Let's talk about the project and why it's so exciting.
Yeah, so yes, we do have basically all of the prospective acreage in Tanzania under Noble Helium, but the North Rukwa project, we've benefited from 2,500 kilometres of vintage seismic and oil exploration back in the 80s that allowed us to really accelerate that project. Helium's coming out of the ground at 10%, and even just in that one basin, we've got an independent independently certified resource from Netherlands Soil in Houston of 176 billion cubic feet, and just for reference, that's about 30 years supply if we were to prove that up. Right now we're getting ready to test our first 2 structures, which will target 16.5 BCF, so about 2.5 years global supply. Helium and nitrogen, nothing else. And in the ground, that's probably worth about that would be worth $7.5 billion at the current market price of helium at $450 US per 1,000 cubic feet. So it's pretty exciting times for us now. We're about to prove it all.
And what is the plan from here?
We'll prove that the play type that we're targeting here in North Rukwa is exactly the play type that I worked up in Tanzania and had, in Uganda. And 14 of those particular types of structures were drilled by Tullow and Africa Oil, and 14 oil and gas discoveries. So we'll first of all test all the science and all the de-risking work that we've been doing over the last 12 months. And then with that, we're already talking to some of the major industrial gas companies about bringing in their expertise to start to commercialise it.
Talking about commercialisation, how does pricing work? Do you sign, is it a spot market you work into, or do you sign long-term contracts?
For this resource, this is like a tier 1, like globally significant resource, if we're right. This would be sold on a long-term supply contract, bulk liquid helium, what they call 5/9. So it's pure helium, pretty much, cryogenically turned into liquid. So that's selling at the moment on the market at about $450 US per 1,000 cubic feet. It's about 50 times the price of LNG. if we have some capacity, we would do some spot market helium from the plant, and that's selling at around 1,200 US per 1,000 cubic feet at the moment. So if an opportunity came up, we'd definitely take that. But most of our helium will still be sold at that sort of 450, as would be our expectation at the moment. And yeah, as I said, that's in the ground. We're targeting right now about $7.5 billion worth of helium at that price.
Right commodity, right structures, right time. Exciting times ahead for Noble and its shareholders. Justyn, thanks for your time.
Thanks very much, David. Cheers.